At college, I secretly drew my mature, glamorous teacher as the heroine of my comic. In the story, I had my way with her, even writing in a forced cohabitation plot. I thought it was my own little secret. But later, after an accident, we were forced to live together. That was when I learned my teacher was my biggest fan. She stayed up every night for new chapters, and even imagined herself as the heroine. On graduation day, my best friend forgot to submit his graduation paperwork, so I had to ask the counselor for her address and deliver the documents to her home myself. Following the location she sent, I found her apartment complex. I took the elevator to the 5th floor and found apartment 502 with the graduation documents in hand. I took a deep breath and knocked twice. "Counselor, it's Spatula. I brought the documents for you." A clear, lovely female voice came from inside. "Spatula, you are here." "My hands are full at the moment. Just come in. The door isn't locked," she added. I nodded. Then I pushed open the door to apartment 502. Mikai lived in a 3-bedroom apartment, a rented apartment of roughly 100 square meters. The instant I stepped inside, her distinctive perfume reached me, wafting straight to my nose. Looking around, I saw Mickey Mouse cushions and plush toys on the sofa. Cartoon slippers and a pink rug sat by the door. Everything screamed that this was unmistakably a girl's room. "Counselor, where are you?" In the bedroom, Mikai had already gotten herself ready. She sat on the edge of her bed reading a romance comic. In it, a female teacher confessed to the male lead on a rainy day. Going by the plot, a kiss should come next. The comic she was following was drawn by a little-known artist. It was titled Eternal Graduation Season. Mikai had followed it for a long time. She first fell in love with it because the author portrayed emotions with exquisite sensitivity. The story was heartwarming beyond words. But after reading it for so long, Mikai increasingly felt that the comic's female teacher lead acted rather like her, even dressing somewhat like her. Though she was only a stylized comic character, there were still clear similarities. That made it easy for Mikai to see herself in her. That strange sense of identification completely hooked her. She never stopped urging the author to update each week, a true die-hard fan. Yet just as Mikai waited to see what happened after that rainy confession, the story hit a cliffhanger and cut off again. The notice said she had to wait until next week. Annoyance instantly crossed Mikai's face. She closed her laptop and left the bedroom still wanting more. Seeing Spatula standing at the door, she smiled. "You got here fast. Did you bring everything?" "It is all here." Mikai was still wearing the outfit she had worn at school, a short skirt with an off-the-shoulder, short-sleeve top. Her softly curled long hair fell over one shoulder. Only high-heeled sandals were gone, replaced by pink house slippers. She went to the water dispenser and filled the cup to the brim. She drained it in one go, then glanced sideways at me, still frozen by the door. When I did not move, she smiled. "Come over." "Why are you standing there? Bring me the documents." I paused, then walked over to Mikai, slightly embarrassed. I handed her the papers. "Counselor, these are Fang Yuan's and my documents. I meant to give them to you this morning, but I forgot." She glanced up at me. Taking them, she smiled and let out a long breath. She flipped through both sets of documents and stared down at the pages. She murmured, "Spatula, be more careful in the future." Luckily, this was not urgent, or it could have caused serious trouble. "Once you graduate and start working, you and Feng Yuan must not be this forgetful again. Pay closer attention, all right?" I knew a lecture was inevitable, so I quickly nodded. "Understood. We will be more careful from now on, counselor." Mikai gave me a meaningful look. Among all her students, I had made the deepest impression on her. After all, at the start of the school year, we had crossed paths unexpectedly over a stray cat. All right, just leave the documents with me. If there is nothing else, head home. As for when diplomas are issued, I will notify everyone in the class group." I acknowledged her. I took one last look at her, thinking I would probably never see this beautiful counselor again. "Then I will get going. Goodbye, counselor." Mikai hummed, then suddenly asked, "Spatula, will you work here after graduation or return home?" "I want to stay here. There is hardly any suitable work back home." Mikai nodded. "Work hard once you start. I have high hopes for you. Stay safe on your way home." "Thank you, Ms. Mi." I turned and walked to the door. Mikai was about to return to her bedroom. But then, just as I was about to open the door and leave, the elevator doors suddenly opened. A group of workers in protective suits poured out of the elevator. Seeing me about to leave, they raised their hands to stop me. One said, "Hello, sir. During this morning's COVID screening, a positive case was found in this complex. This building is now under temporary lockdown, so no one may enter or leave for the time being. You live in apartment 502. Right? We need to register the number of residents. How many people are in your home?" After he rattled all that off, I finally understood and frowned. "What do you mean? No one can enter or leave the complex now. But I only came to deliver documents. I do not live here." One of the hazmat workers said, That is not possible. Please understand these arrangements. You can stay with your friend for now. It is for everyone's safety. I was completely stunned. The commotion at the door also drew Mikai out of the apartment. She came to the door and froze when she saw the workers in protective suits. What is going on? What happened? The worker had no choice but to repeat what he had said. Hello. Ma'am, a case was identified in this complex this morning. It is under temporary lockdown. No one may enter or leave for the time being. We need to verify the number of residents. Your household currently has 2 people, just you 2. Correct. After hearing that, Mikai was slightly taken aback. We cannot leave. Instinctively, she turned to look at me, half a head taller than her. I looked back at Mikai. We held each other's gaze for 1 second before awkwardly turning back to the worker. How long will the lockdown last? Will it be over in 3 or 4 days? The workers exchanged amused looks. At least a month. If it gets serious, maybe 2 or 3 months. The exact duration is uncertain, but it will not be brief. When the lockdown ends, we will notify you both in the residence group. There are only 2 of you inside, right? Do not open the door casually from today on. Keep it securely locked. Avoid going outside if possible. If you violate the rules, we will handle it accordingly. The worker continued. Please give us your names and ID numbers. We need to register them. Mikai and I were stunned by this sudden turn. Helplessly, we gave them our details. The worker taking notes nodded. Wash your hands often. Keep the place ventilated. Watch for notices in the residence group. Colleagues will come by tonight to test you both for COVID. Please cooperate when they arrive. With a click, the door shut. Inside, Mikai and I stared at each other. For a moment, neither of us knew what to say. In the end, I broke the silence. Counselor, what do we do now? Mikai rarely frowned. This really was absurd. She was suddenly living with a man, even if he was her student. Yet in all her life, she had never had a man stay in her home. This was a first for her. Mikai sighed, not knowing how to say it. She rubbed her forehead and smiled helplessly. Spatula, have a seat for now. I need to call my family first. I was supposed to go home today. I nodded. Go ahead, counselor. As Mikai turned toward her bedroom, I swallowed hard. My mind went nearly blank. I was panicking, yet strangely excited. Well, this was just perfect. For the next month or 2, I would be living with Ms. Me, trapped together, unable to even leave the apartment. The kind of days where anything could happen at home. The awkwardness was so intense. I could have dug out a whole 3-bedroom apartment with my toes. What was I supposed to do? Still standing in the entryway, I looked around Mikai's apartment again. Whether the decor or furniture arrangement, it was nothing like the apartment Fang Yuan that I rented together. It was on an entirely different level. Mikai's home was delicate and cozy. Everything she used carried a soft, sweetly feminine air. I glimpsed Mikai sitting on her bed. She began calling home. I went to sit on the living room sofa. Her slightly helpless voice came from the bedroom. Hello? Mom, Dad, something came up here. The complex is locked down. I probably cannot come home today. We do not know when it will end. I will be careful. Do not worry about me. They will deliver food supplies. You and Dad should take care too. I will keep you posted. I am hanging up now. After hanging up, she sat silently on the edge of the bed. She had not told her parents that a male student was locked down in her home too. It would have sounded rather strange. After thinking for a moment, Mikai padded to the bedroom door in cartoon slippers. She looked at me, frozen on the sofa, and thought to herself, living with Spatula from now on was at least a silver lining. After all, Spatula had caught her attention at school for a while. He was caring, mature, and not noisy. With someone like him in her home, she did not feel quite so guarded. Mikai watched my back, then pressed her lips together, unable to shake her embarrassment and unease. In the living room, I sat on the sofa. If my best friend had not called just then, I would not have known what to do with myself. No exaggeration. In Mikai's home, I could barely even breathe. I was on pins and needles. My best friend Fang Yuan called. The moment I answered, Fang Yuan asked, Spatula, did you deliver the documents? How is it going over there? I gave a hollow laugh, glancing at a pink cup on the coffee table, with red dates steeping inside. I replied, I delivered them. There is just a small problem. I might not be able to come back. Fang Yuan froze. What do you mean? You cannot come back? Did the counselor get mad? Was yelling at you not enough? Should I come over and get yelled at too? It is not that. You were not in a car accident, were you? Of course not. Then what happened? Do not scare me. Hurry back once you finish. I saved you a seat. If you do not get here soon, I am eating all the oysters I saved for you. I forced a smile. It is fine. My counselor's complex is locked down, so for a while, I will probably have to live with her. Fang Yuan had been chewing grilled meat, but those words left him speechless. Even the meat in his mouth lost its flavor. Silence fell. Say that again. You are locked down with our counselor. You are in her home right now. Something this unbelievable happened to you. Do not mess with me. Would I joke about something like this? I am completely numb right now. I do not know whether to sit or stand. As I listened to my best friend's shocked voice, I suddenly heard something from the bedroom. Something had fallen. Then Mikai cried out. I glanced toward the bedroom and told Fang Yuan, I will explain everything tonight. Something seems to have happened to the counselor. I need to check on her. Hey, Spatula. Do not hang up. But I had already hung up. I slipped my phone into my pocket and headed straight to the bedroom door. Just as I was about to ask, Counselor, are you alright? I saw Mikai standing on tiptoe atop a small box, trying to move a suitcase onto the wardrobe. The suitcase in her raised hands was clearly tilted. Its zipper had somehow burst open, scattering its contents across the floor. When Mikai saw me, she endured the pain in her wrist and said, Spatula, give me a hand. I think I twisted my wrist. I quickly rushed over and took the suitcase from her. Only then did she lower her arms. Climbing down from the small box, she sat on the bed's edge, frowning as she rubbed her wrist, holding the bottom of the suitcase. I carefully lowered it to the floor. The suitcase zipper had completely split. Its contents were scattered everywhere. Seeing Mikai frown in pain, I asked, Counselor, are you okay? Mikai looked up at me. I'm fine. I was putting it up there when the zipper suddenly broke. I twisted my wrist a little. Good thing you came. It was nothing but your wrist. Mikai gently rubbed her right wrist with her left hand. Her brow was tightly furrowed. It should be nothing serious. Go rest in the living room. If you are bored and want to watch television, the remote is beside the sofa. I can clean this up myself. The floor was covered with her personal belongings. It did not feel right to meddle, so I nodded. If you need to move the suitcase again, just call me. I will handle it. Mikai glanced at me again. Smiling, she nodded. Thank you, Spatula. I will have to trouble you again. You are too polite, Counselor. I will head out then. Call me if you need anything. Once I left the room, Mikai rubbed her wrist, pressed her lips together, and sighed softly. Once the pain eased a little, she crouched down again and packed the items back into the suitcase one by one. I returned to the sofa in the living room and turned on the television. Though I appeared to be watching, I was really listening for her to call me. Sure enough, a voice came from the bedroom. Spatula, could you come help me? Coming, I went into the bedroom and saw that she had already put everything away. Since the zipper was broken, she had not packed the suitcase as full this time. Just help me put it up there. Thanks. It is no trouble. Rubbing her wrist, Mikai looked at me and cautioned. Careful, Spatula. That suitcase is pretty heavy, but when I lifted it, it felt manageable. I rose onto my toes and easily set it atop the wardrobe. Mikai watched eagerly and could not help laughing. Go watch some more television. I will make dinner. Spatula, do you like scrambled eggs with tomatoes? Without thinking much, I nodded at once. I like scrambled eggs with tomatoes. But Counselor, is your hand alright? Why do I not cook instead? Mikai smiled. You can cook. A little. I am not very good at it. Mikai pressed her lips together. Knowing a little is still good. When you get a girlfriend someday, you will be able to take care of her. Alright. My hand is fine. Just watch television and wait. Dinner will be ready soon. I could only smile wryly and nod. After leaving the bedroom, I saw Mikai was still wearing that off-the-shoulder, short-sleeved top, paired with a short white skirt. Her elegant stockings made the outfit even more alluring. She walked into the kitchen and casually slid the glass door shut. Her long legs moved back and forth as she worked. Mikai opened the refrigerator in the kitchen, skillfully took out tomatoes and eggs, then began preparing them for the pan. People say, time moves slowest in class, 10 or 20 times slower than on weekends. I used to think so too, but today changed my mind completely. Sitting in my teacher's home, waiting to eat face-to-face with her, time crawled just as unbearably slowly. It was even slower than staring into space in class. Every minute felt like torture. Thankfully, after what felt like a century, Mikai's call finally broke the awkward silence. Spatula, dinner is ready. You can wash your hands over there. She pointed to the little washroom on the right by the door. I answered her and hurried over to wash my hands. When I returned after washing up, she went to wash her hands herself. We took our seats at the dining table. Mikai handed me a pair of chopsticks. I thanked her. Try my cooking and see how it tastes. I nodded, picked up a piece of egg, and tasted it. Seeing her watching me, I quickly took a piece of tomato too. Well, my cooking is good, isn't it? I nodded eagerly. It is delicious. I could never make it taste like this. Counselor, do you make this often? The question caught Mikai off guard. It was not that she made this dish often. It was that this was the only dish she knew how to make. There was a cafeteria at school, and after work, she could simply order takeout. There was rarely any need to cook, especially when she was alone. Mikai smiled. Yes. This is one of my favorites. With that, she began eating her rice with the tomato and egg dish. Then she changed the subject. If you like it, Eat more. After we finish, I will ask around in the residence group chat for you. Our situation is unusual, so maybe they will let you leave and go home. Otherwise, I have nowhere for you to sleep. There are enough rooms, but I only have one bed. Holding a bite of food in my chopsticks, I looked at her and thought to myself, it would be perfect if I could go back. Staying here really was torture. Mikai smiled. In truth, the idea had only occurred to her while she was cooking. She could not guarantee it, but she would ask first. Even if you cannot go back, maybe we can find you somewhere to stay. A hotel. That would work for me. It would be better than awkwardly staring at each other here. Thank you, counselor. After we hurriedly finished dinner, I helped her carry the dishes and chopsticks into the kitchen. I had wanted to wash them, but Mikai still treated me as a guest and would not let me help. Once everything was cleaned up, we sat at opposite ends of the sofa. I pretended to watch television, while Mikai leaned against a cushion and scrolled through her phone. She asked the residence group if anyone else was in my situation and how long the lockdown would last. The power of the crowd was truly impressive. In just one afternoon, all kinds of rumors flooded the group chat. No one could tell what was true and what was false, but as long as they sounded plausible, everyone simply believed them. They all amounted to the same thing anyway. Then, a group administrator posted an announcement, and the chatter gradually died down. The announcement basically said the complex was locked down this time because two infections had been found there. The lockdown was set to last 1 month for now. Cases like Spatulas, where someone was temporarily trapped at a friend's home, were not unique. 2 or 3 other households had visitors trapped there as well. Though it was an accident, the authorities had made it clear, no matter the reason, no one could leave during the sensitive period. As for arranging hotels for people in this situation, there were no such plans at present. Mikai sat on the sofa reading the announcement. She absently smoothed the hair by her ear. It looks like that will not work. It seems that, for the time being, Spatula, you will have to make do living with your teacher. When I heard that, I turned to look at her profile as she lowered her eyes to her phone. I cannot go home? Mikai shook her head. Most likely, no. This lockdown seems pretty strict. How about this? Spatula, I will sleep on the sofa tonight. You can sleep in the bedroom. I will tidy the room for you. I was so flattered I hardly knew what to say. I waved my hands. Teacher, you are not feeling well, are you? You definitely should not sleep on the sofa. At those words, the usually composed Mikai suddenly widened her eyes and stared at me. Spatula, what did you just say? I froze, realizing I had said too much. It is nothing. I can sleep on the sofa anyway. Mikai frowned slightly. How did you know? I gave an awkward smile. My gaze drifted to the cup of hot water steeped with red dates on the coffee table. I saw you drinking hot water steeped with red dates earlier, counselor. And after dinner, when I carried the dishes with you, whether you were washing your hands or not, you only used hot water. That is why I guessed. After hearing my explanation, Mikai was stunned for several seconds, then suddenly let out a soft laugh. I did not expect you to be so observant, Spatula. You even noticed little details like that. I smiled along with her, but did not take it as a compliment. You are giving me too much credit, counselor. Mikai straightened up. Besides that, what else have you noticed? Spatula, tell your teacher. I recalled what I had seen while washing my hands. That is about it. Nothing else. When I was washing my hands, I noticed you do not have much makeup, counselor. There was no vanity in your bedroom either. You usually go to school without makeup, right? Mikai raised a brow. She thought she had truly underestimated this young man. Since you are so observant, Spatula, I really do not wear much makeup, unless it is a very important day, like today, your graduation. I only dress up a little then. I casually said. Actually, you are beautiful even without makeup. I am not the only one who thinks so. Everyone in our class says. You are the prettiest female teacher at school. Mikai's expression turned slightly strange. After a brief silence, she said, you must be quite popular with the girls at school. Spatula, how many girlfriends have you had? I have not dated anyone. Why are you suddenly asking, counselor? Mikai stood up and looked at me. Spatula, you are not being very honest. A teacher's intuition is usually very accurate. Being attentive to details is a strength, but there are some things you should not look at too closely. After all, this is your teacher's home. I smiled. I will be more careful. Good. As long as you understand. I am going to the bedroom to handle your graduation paperwork. As for the arrangement we just discussed, since you said you wanted to look after your teacher, I will sleep in the bedroom tonight, and you can make do on the sofa. Mikai picked up the hot water steeped with red dates from the coffee table. She headed back to the bedroom in her slippers. After the door closed, I stared at it, took a deep breath, then fiercely raked my fingers through my hair. What had I just been saying? I drew too many romance comics, so I kept unconsciously casting my counselor as the heroine. The moment we talked, I slipped into the kind of dialogue I used in my comics. What a terrible occupational hazard. Inside the bedroom, Mikai closed the door, but did not sit down right away. Instead, she leaned against it. After setting down her cup, she covered her face with both hands and silently scolded herself. That was utterly humiliating. Being locked down with him was one thing, but my own student I even noticed I was not feeling well. What kind of mess had I gotten myself into? Thinking back to their conversation, Mikai's brow tightened slightly, and she pressed her lips together. She could not help thinking, so thoughtful and considerate men really do exist. She sighed, thinking of the men who had pursued her before. If they had possessed even half the consideration of this boy called Spatula and knew how to show some care, she probably would have married long ago, instead of remaining single until now. Mikai blanked out for a while, then finally gathered her thoughts. She went to her desk and sat down. She turned on her computer and took out her phone. First, she checked the residence group chat for any new updates. It was still much the same as before. It seemed the decision was final. She took a sip of water and pulled out her students' graduation paperwork to organize. Mikai worked from noon into the afternoon. By a little after 5, she had finally finished 1/3 of it. She lazily leaned back in her chair and let out a breath. She gazed at the ceiling for a while. Her long hair fell across the right side of her chest. Her thoughts suddenly returned to that morning. The comic she had been following, Forever Graduation Season, had built up to the lead's confession this week, and she had savored it for hours. Still, she knew that love in comics would never be the same as real life. Unless you could date the female author herself, no one could really get every detail right as the comic did. This author was incredible. It read as though she had lived through it herself. Mikai had not usually read romance stories before. Too many romance comics were formulaic, filled with pointless twist and melodrama. Amnesia, car crashes, and the like were exhausting to read. But the story of Forever Graduation Season was unlike all the others. Every interaction between its leads was overwhelmingly sweet. Their chemistry was nearly perfect. It was sweet from beginning to end. And it was a teacher-student romance, which made it even more compelling. Thinking about the comic, Mikai muttered, "The updates are far too slow. Just that tiny amount each week." As she thought, she pulled out her phone and opened the Forever Graduation Season Readers group. She belonged to the paid readers group. Only readers who tipped or had official subscriptions could join. Of course, Mikai was in the regular group too. But in the regular group, the author, Chachi, barely ever spoke. The author was more active in the paid group. Mikai posted in the paid group, "Was this week's update a little short?" It ended after just over 10 pages. "When will next week's update be?" Someone immediately replied, "I noticed it was a few pages short too. Doesn't Chachi usually give us 20 pages? This week was 4 pages short. I strongly demand they be made up next week." The leads just confessed, and then it cut off. "It is driving me crazy with suspense. I cannot even enjoy my food." Mikai smiled at her phone. Online, she did not need to be as reserved as she was in person. So she chimed in too. "Chachi, please make them up next week and give us more pages." A flood of people quickly echoed her request. It was a group chat, after all. Once someone said the same thing, no one could stop the wave of +1 replies. Under that barrage, the comic's author, Dreaming Little Chachi, was tagged into the chat. "This week's update was short because something came up on my end, so there were fewer pages." When Mikai saw the author appear, she immediately asked, "Will you make up the missing pages next week, then?" The author, Little Chachi, which was me, was curled up on the sofa, staring at the chat. "Could I make them up? Probably not. I was locked down at Teacher Me's home. The sofa was the only space I could use, and I had brought none of my drawing equipment. How could I make anything up?" I could only reply, "Sorry, everyone. Something unexpected happened here. I probably will not be able to update next week, or for the next month or two." When Mikai saw that, her eyes widened as she quickly typed, "No more updates? Why?" The other readers swarmed into, "Yes. What happened, Chachi? What is wrong? Please do not stop updating. It is getting so good. How are we supposed to live without updates?" I replied, "I really cannot help it. I came to a friend's home to deliver something, but the complex went into lockdown. It will probably last a month or two, so I may not be able to update during that time." Mikai had only been curious at first, but these words suddenly stunned her. Lockdown after delivering something to a friend's home? Why did that sound so familiar? She typed quickly. Money was her username in the group. "Author, are you locked down with your friend?" "Yes, we were forcibly locked down together, which is why I cannot update. Once the lockdown ends, I will make up what I owe, okay?" "How long will that take?" "Yes, 1 or 2 months is too long." "May I ask what you usually use to draw, Chachi?" "Little Chachi, I use a tablet, but I did not bring it when I came to my friend's home today." A reader asked, "Are you at your female best friend's place? Could you borrow her tablet?" Updating is what matters. Sitting on the sofa, I froze when I saw that. Borrowing my counselor's tablet to update might actually work. I remembered Mikai had a tablet during class. I just did not know whether she was using it now. If it was free, I could use it to draw. Little Chachi, in theory, I could try. I just do not know if she will lend it to me, because I am not at my best friend's place. I am at my teacher's home. She seems to need it for work too, so she might not lend it to me. So Chachi is still a student. Little Chachi, I was this morning, but not anymore. I graduated from college today. Mikai had initially dismissed it as coincidence, but as she read the group chat, she covered her mouth in surprise. Chachi was at his teacher's home, locked down with his teacher, and had graduated today. That was too similar. Then again, it was graduation season, and with all these lockdowns, such coincidences were understandable. Little Chachi, I will go ask to borrow it first. Wait for my update. The chat kept buzzing with messages. Mikai watched the screen fill with go for it messages and wanted to add a +1 herself. But just as her finger touched the screen, someone knocked at the bedroom door. I stood outside, looking utterly awkward, but it was for the update and my readers. If I really did not update for 2 months, my readers would suffer, and so would I. More importantly, no updates meant no money to spend. Counselor, are you busy right now? Mikai looked up at the door. I am not too busy right now. Just tell me what you need. Outside, I swallowed hard. Counselor, I remember you have a tablet, right? Do you use it often? If not, could I borrow it? Mikai sat in her desk chair, hearing my voice outside. Her eyes flew wide open. She stared at the wooden door in disbelief. Borrow my tablet. Had Chachi not just said they were going to borrow a tablet from their teacher? Wait. It could not be this much of a coincidence, could it? Was it real or not? Mikai glanced down at the messages that had just appeared in the chat, then looked back at the bedroom door. It all felt unreal, like a dream. But little Chachi was supposed to be a female author, yet he had also just graduated, was also locked down with his teacher, and was also asking to borrow a tablet. Could coincidences really line up like this? When Mikai did not answer, I waited outside the door. I thought she was busy with work, and had only answered me casually. So I gathered my courage and asked again. Counselor, is that okay? If you need it, then forget it. Mikai finally came back to herself. She hurriedly replied, of course you can borrow it. But what do you need a tablet for? To play games? Or something else? She stared tensely at the door. If the little Chachi in the group, the author of Forever Graduation Season, really was her student, then that meant the author she had adored for more than half a year was actually one of the boys she had mentored. I quickly made up an excuse at the door. I could not exactly say I needed it to draw a romance comic under a female author's pen name, and the comic's heroine was a teacher. If my counselor found out, I would be so mortified I would want the ground to swallow me whole. I will just say I am bored and want something to pass the time. Hearing that answer, Mikai felt a flash of disappointment, but then she reconsidered. It was probably an excuse. Who would casually reveal that they were a comic artist? So she pressed further. Just playing games. Are you sure? Nervously, I swallowed again outside the door. Then I realized that if I only said it was for gaming, my counselor might not be willing to lend it to me. I needed a more convincing reason. I am not just playing games. Actually, I also want to borrow your tablet to draw. The moment I said it, Mikai could clearly hear her own heartbeat in the bedroom. If nothing unexpected happened, this all but confirmed it. Little Chachi in the group was this boy. You can draw too? Do you draw comics? That one question nearly gave me away. Sweat beaded on my forehead, though the June heat was partly to blame. It is just ordinary drawing. I often sketch scenery in my dorm room, just to pass the time. Oh, scenery. That is nice. Oh, so you draw scenery. I did not know you had that hobby. Can you show me when you are done? Sure. Then wait a moment. I will bring you the tablet. The moment I heard that, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I had probably fooled her. Okay, thank you, counselor. In the bedroom, Mikai opened a drawer to find her tablet. He said it was scenery. But was he really Chachi? Either way, she would have him show her when he finished. His artwork and technique should reveal the answer. After all, drawing comics was like making animation or films. Everyone's line work and paneling had their own distinctive habits. As a devoted fan of Forever Graduation Season, as soon as he showed her his drawing, she could probably tell from the art style whether her student was Chachi. Come to think of it, if this boy really was that female author, then he was genuinely talented. She had not expected to have such a gifted student under her wing. If it was confirmed, she had to ask him properly how he had made this teacher-student romance so addictive. Wait, a teacher-student romance. Mikai's hand froze halfway to the tablet. She suddenly realized something she had always thought. The heroine of Forever Graduation Season resembled her in character design and personality. They were both college teachers. Both had long, softly curled hair, and both wore their hair over one shoulder. If little Chachi in the group was not her student, then perhaps that character design was just coincidence. But if Chachi really was him, then it could hardly be dismissed as coincidence. Once she saw it that way, the comic's heroine, in every gesture, was practically her double. It was as though he had taken her from the real world and placed her straight into a comic. No, not just the heroine. The comic's male lead resembled him too. In fact, they were almost identical. At most, the comic's male lead was a little more mischievous than the real him, but his way of speaking and doing things was nearly the same. In disbelief, Mikai covered her mouth with one hand. Her gaze trembled as she stared at the tablet in the drawer. If her guess was correct, then he really was that comic artist. That meant he had, in a comic world, drawn a story about the two of them falling in love. Outside, I stood at the door, waiting a long time for Mikai to open it. My palms grew sweaty. I was deeply uneasy, with a vague feeling that something was wrong. I did not know how long I had stood outside. Before Mikai slowly opened the door, I instinctively called out, "Counselor." Mikai, with her fox-like eyes, hummed in reply. At least on the surface, her expression was calm. She handed me the tablet. A stylus was still attached to it. "Take it. Let me see your drawing when you are done." I met her gaze and nodded. "Okay. Thank you, counselor." I took the tablet, then turned toward the sofa. A flicker of secret delight rose in my heart. I had not expected it to go so smoothly. But then, just as I settled on the sofa with the tablet, Mikai suddenly asked another question. "Will you use this tablet often?" I turned and smiled at her. I figured, since I had nothing else to do, I could draw now and then to pass the time. "But if you need it to, counselor, I can always." Mikai cut me off. She added that she did not use the tablet much. "There is a laptop in my room. You can use it too if you need it." I nodded. "Thank you, counselor." Mikai gave me one last look. As she was about to close the door, she added one more thing. "I will work a little longer. I will start dinner around 6. You are not hungry yet, are you?" I gave a soft hum. I had a pretty filling lunch. Mikai smiled. Then she gently closed the bedroom door. She leaned against the door. Lowering her head, she took out her phone. She sent a message to the Forever Graduation Season Readers group. "Chachi, did you get the tablet? Did it work out?" Other readers in the group chimed in. "Yeah. Why have you gone quiet? Did your teacher refuse to lend it to you?" Mikai stared at the screen, nervously waiting for the female author to reply. Sure enough, seconds later, Little Chachi, the author, came online. "Little Chachi, woohoo, I got it. And my teacher said she barely uses it anyway. So it looks like regular updates can continue, my dears." Mikai's beautiful eyes fixed on those words in a daze. Watching the flood of cheers in the group, she covered her mouth again. By this point, she no longer seemed to need to see me draw. There was no way, in such a short time, so many matching coincidences could happen in a row. But the problem was, I was her student. She had once been my college counselor and homeroom teacher, a full 4 or 5 years older than me. Could he really like someone like me? Or was I merely his source material? But to create a story like this, even if he called it research, he had to have those feelings and impulses inside him. Otherwise, he could not imagine such details. Mikai casually set her phone on the table. The things he had said at noon replayed in her mind. "You are beautiful even without makeup. It is not just me who thinks so. Everyone in our class says. You are the prettiest female teacher in the whole school. You are not feeling well, are you, counselor? You definitely cannot sleep on the sofa." "I can sleep there." No wonder he said things like that, and noticed little details others missed. So that was the truth. Mikai slowly crouched down, covering her face with both hands again. Her cheeks grew warm for no reason. She had the face of a mature, elegant woman, yet she looked almost adorable at that moment. "This is so embarrassing. There could not be a more awkward situation in the world," she muttered to herself. "What on earth did I go through today? I would rather not have known. Otherwise, over the next few months, how am I supposed to be alone with this boy?" Over the next hour or so, Mikai was not idle in the bedroom either. Barefoot, she leaned against the headboard, her legs curled beneath her. On impulse, she reread Forever Graduation Season from the beginning. By now, Mikai had basically figured out that she was the comic's heroine, and he was its male lead. So, when she read it again, her state of mind was completely different from the first time. It had changed fundamentally. At first, the two characters did not interact much in the comic. At school, they simply had a bit of affection for each other. They remained friends and never crossed the line. At this point in the story, Mikai still found it uneventful, until the story reached a school outing. One night, the male lead saw the heroine sitting alone beneath a large tree, staring blankly at the moon. That distant, sorrowful expression hooked the male lead at once. Their romance truly began from that moment. When Mikai first read it, she was curled up under the covers at night. She would unconsciously curl into herself, and the lead's simple yet charming exchanges would pierce straight through her heart. But rereading it now, it felt completely different. Watching this scene, Mikai still curled into a ball, but this time she was sitting on the bed, hugging her knees. The flutter in her heart was weaker now. In its place was an indescribable awkwardness and confusion. Mikai stared at that comic panel. Did he really draw this? This part is so hard to get right. When he sees me unhappy, does he look at me like this too? Mikai tried hard to recall her past interactions with Spatula at school. Once her mindset changed, her memories of the past changed with it. Those once ordinary interactions looked different through her eyes now. None of them seemed ordinary anymore, because that kid might truly have feelings for her. She closed her eyes helplessly, set her phone aside, and rested the back of her head against the headboard. She let out a long breath. Spatula was actually quite tall. He looked at least 5 feet 11 inches tall. He stood half a head taller than her 5 feet 7. He was easy on the eyes. He was considerate in both speech and actions. He was a gentle, handsome young man, and a comic artist with enormous potential, especially his attentiveness toward her. It surpassed all the men who had pursued her before. Honestly, if he had not once been her student, their only issue would be their age difference. What am I thinking? No matter how great he is, it has nothing to do with me. He is still just a kid. Maybe I am overthinking it anyway. Mikai quietly opened the door and glanced at him bent over his work. Without saying a word, she opened the refrigerator, quickly took out tomatoes and eggs, and began chopping and cooking. But while preparing dinner this time, Mikai deliberately took out her phone and set it beside the cutting board. The readers' group chat was open on its screen. As she cooked, Mikai kept watching the group chat, watching author Little Chachi post messages. Whenever the author said something in the group, Mikai would unconsciously glance back at me. Sure enough, I was sitting on the sofa, looking down as I replied on my phone. The feeling was impossibly strange. The idol she had always admired through a screen was actually a student she had taught. What was a comic artist really like? A male artist might be sunny and handsome, or perhaps a little brooding and sensitive. A female artist would be either poised and graceful, or warm and gentle. In any case, anyone who could create this story had to be remarkable. Sometimes, she had even thought that having a comic artist for a boyfriend someday would be wonderful. But no matter what she imagined, she never expected the real comic artist to be like this, and to be her favorite one at that. The sunny and handsome part certainly fit. He was just far too young. And then there was the awkwardness of their former teacher-student relationship. In the kitchen, Mikai poured some oil into a stainless steel pan. She added the chopped tomatoes first, then poured in the beaten eggs. The range hood hummed overhead, drawing away even the faintest wisp of smoke. She watched the pan intently, repeatedly flipping the food with the spatula in her hand. After learning who I really was, she could not stop stealing glances at the great comic artist while she cooked. What she did not know was that I stole occasional glances at her too. Just like now, I held the stylus in one hand and gripped my phone in the other. My gaze unconsciously settled on Mikai's profile. Her long hair fell over the curve of her full chest. Her porcelain white fingers held the spatula as she stir-fried the hot food. Those fox-like eyes beneath her long lashes were even more alluring in profile. As a comic artist, I am especially sensitive to beautiful things. I store them away in my mind first, then draw them when I need them. In this small home, she was unquestionably the most beautiful. I could not help watching her for several seconds. Then Mikai casually glanced over and happened to look my way. Our gazes met just like that. We quietly held each other's gaze for a moment. Then I hurriedly looked away, pretending to bury myself in my drawings again, as if it had only been by chance. Mikai did the same. She pretended it had only been a careless glance and turned her attention back to the pan. But she pressed her lips together, wondering, was he looking at me just now? Or had our eyes simply met by chance? After learning the truth, Mikai felt that every little thing I did all seemed somehow off. Back in the kitchen, Mikai called me over only after dinner was ready. Come wash your hands. Dinner is ready. Yes, coming. I set down my stylus and quickly went to wash my hands. After I finished, she went in and rinsed her hands again. At dinner, things were much the same as that morning. Mikai handed me my chopsticks. I took them. Thank you, counselor. Please, go ahead. I looked at the scrambled eggs with tomatoes on the table, blinked, and took a bite. It tasted much the same as it had that morning. Mikai slowly chewed her rice. As we ate, we were silent for quite a while. Not until we were halfway through did Mikai finally speak. Have you called your family since graduating? I glanced at her. Not yet. My parents are at work during the day, so they rarely answer calls. If I need them, I usually call at night. No wonder, Mikai said. With things as they are, you cannot go home for now. You should definitely let your family know. By the way, if you want to return home, can you still get a ticket? The situation is pretty serious lately. I shook my head. I am not sure either. I thought nothing would happen today, but I got locked down just for bringing you some documents. So even if I wanted to leave, I probably could not. When I arrived at noon, I saw you packing your luggage. Advisor, were you planning to go home today? She took a bite of vegetables, looking slightly helpless. I was planning to go back for a visit. It has been over half a year since I went home. Who knew this would happen? What does your family do? I took a bite too. My dad runs a wholesale business back home. My mom injured her arm in an accident before. She is not working now and is recovering at home. She injured her arm. It was not too serious, but she definitely cannot keep working. Mikai nodded. Do you feel pressured after graduating? I smiled. Not really. There is not much pressure right now. I will probably feel it once I have a girlfriend. After all, if I want to stay in Liding City, I will have to afford a car and a home myself. Mikai gave a casual hum. Then you should find someone who knows how to manage a household. Someone who can support you, so the two of you can work together. Life would be much easier that way. I nodded. Yes, it is just hard to meet a girl like that. She had said it casually, and I had not thought much about my reply. But after exchanging a glance, We both suddenly fell silent, especially Mikai. Even her chewing slowed. The atmosphere turned a little awkward. She wondered how the conversation had suddenly hit a dead end. Pretending nothing had happened, she lowered her head and continued eating. I could only keep slowly picking at my food. After thinking for a moment, she spoke again. Do you have anyone in mind? I can help you think it through too. With food between my chopsticks, the heroine from my comic suddenly flashed through my mind. I answered honestly, not yet. Mikai's expression changed. Then during your 4 years of college, you never dated anyone at all. I smiled awkwardly. Mikai asked again, what about before college? Not before college either. I swallowed, with my advisor grilling me nonstop. I really wanted to lose it right there. No. Mikai's expression turned a little strange, with a faint smile at the corner of her lips. Impressive. There are not many good men like you at our school. Saving all your first for your future girlfriend. No matter how I heard it, that sounded strange. It did not feel like a compliment. I knew I could not keep this topic going, so I changed the subject. What about you, advisor? I have not heard that you have had a boyfriend these past few years. Mikai froze for a moment. I let out a surprised little ah. You have not dated either, have you? We looked at each other for 2 seconds. I gave a soft cough and smiled to smooth things over. Then I guess you really do have high standards, advisor. But you are so beautiful. There must be plenty of men pursuing you. Mikai shifted her gaze from my face to her chopsticks. There are indeed quite a few people pursuing me. I just have not met anyone I really like yet. That is why I am still single. I nodded. I believe you, advisor. You will definitely meet the person meant for you. Mikai looked at me and smiled. That was quite poetic. But thank you. I believe that too. She suddenly remembered something. Oh, right? Spatula, did you check the residence group this afternoon? Did they say how long the lockdown would last? Mikai shook her head. No, the group did not discuss it any further. But it looks like it will last at least a month. Maybe longer. Then, for the next month, I will split the food and utility cost with you. Since I am staying here, the expenses will add up. I cannot keep spending your money. You are my student. How much could a few meals and utilities cost? There is no need to split them. I insisted. You took good care of us at school. Now that we have graduated, I cannot keep taking advantage of your kindness. I would not feel right about it. Seeing how serious I was, Mikai smiled and nodded. All right. After dinner that evening, I said I would wash the dishes. Mikai politely tried to stop me, but I insisted. She was not feeling well today. I had already let her wash the dishes at noon. It would not be right to make her do it again that night. Mikai could not talk me out of it. So, we divided the chores. Then you wash the dishes. I will clear the table. I readily agreed. So, a little after 7, Mikai wiped the table with a cloth, occasionally glancing toward the kitchen. I was focused on washing the dishes. I do not know if it was a coincidence, but when we both turned around, our eyes met again for no reason. This time, neither of us looked away at once. We simply smiled at each other and returned to our chores. After dinner, Mikai went to her bedroom and brought out a thin summer blanket. It was so hot, and since I was sleeping on the living room sofa, the air conditioner would have to stay on. Without a cover, I could catch a chill. She handed me the blanket. Remember to cover yourself when you sleep. The air conditioner blows pretty hard. I accepted it with a smile. Thank you, advisor. I will go back to my bedroom and continue working. I will not come out again. I will go straight to sleep later. Do not stay up too late either. All right, advisor. Good night. I watched Mikai return to her bedroom. Only after she locked the door did I inexplicably breathe a sigh of relief. I turned off the living room's main light and switched on a few dim yellow ceiling lights. Then I collapsed onto the sofa. I looked around the living room at night. I would be spending the night here. In all my life, this was my first time spending the night alone with a woman in her home. I took out my phone and saw it was nearly 8. I decided to call my parents first. I opened my mother's number and called. It rang 8 times before someone answered, but my father's voice came through instead. My dad's booming voice said, "Hello, son. What made you think to call home?" I smiled. "I missed you, of course. I just wanted to ask how you have been." "Where is Mom?" "She went to see your second aunt. I think they are working on disposable gloves together. She left her phone at home." "Can Mom's arm handle that?" Dad said. I checked. They just unpacked disposable gloves and boxed them up again. "The pay is not much, though." My dad sounded helpless. "Your mother cannot sit still. If I really made her stay home and do nothing, she would do nothing but argue with me." I gave a quiet acknowledgement. I laughed. "That is true, as long as it does not tire her out. By the way, son, you are graduating soon, right? Last time, you said graduation was less than a month away." "I have already graduated. I graduated today. I was planning to rest here for a few days, then go home to see you before returning to look for work." "It is fine. It is fine. Coming back now would only cause trouble. Just stay where you are. Now that you have graduated, find yourself a proper job." "I know, Dad. Take care of yourself." "All right. son. You too. After hanging up, I let out a long breath. I was about to get back to my comic, planning to finish at least 3 or 4 pages that night, and hoping to finish next week's update in the next few days, along with the pages I missed last week because of graduation. But as soon as I hung up, a little red dot appeared in the top right corner of my screen. Several notifications popped up in rapid succession. They were frantic messages from Fang Yuan on WeChat. Typing was too slow for him. The moment he finished sending them, a voice call came through. I glanced at Mikai's firmly closed bedroom door, lowered my phone volume, and answered. Fang Yuan and I were silent on the call at first. There was complete silence for a full 30 seconds. Time seemed to have stopped. After 30 seconds, I finally drawled, "Hello? Why are you not saying anything? Did you lose your voice?" Fang Yuan muttered in a voice as quiet as a mosquito. "Is your advisor beside you?" "No." She went back to the bedroom. "Are you absolutely sure?" "Of course I am. What am I to you?" I grinned. I immediately got his joke. "I am your dad." Fang Yuan clapped. "Perfect. Looks like nobody really is beside you." I raised an eyebrow. Sensing trouble, I quickly lowered my voice even more. Sure enough, the next second, a beastly roar exploded from the phone. Fang Yuan suddenly went berserk. "Why the hell did you hang up so quickly this morning? And why did you ignore me all day? Are you trying to give your dad a heart attack?" If I had not quickly turned down the volume, Mikai in the bedroom would probably have thought Godzilla had invaded the living room. My advisor is in the bedroom. "Man, can you keep your voice down?" Fang Yuan's tone finally returned to normal. "Sorry, I got carried away. I could not control my volume." "So what is your situation over there?" I stared at the phone and sighed. "What do you think we were locked down to? We probably will not be leaving for a month or 2. Holy crap. Seriously, you have got to be kidding me. We have only lived in our new place for 3 days, and now you are telling me, so I will have to queue solo from now on." I laughed. "That is right. That big house gives you plenty of room to run wild." "Run wild, my ass? You know I am a coward. A place this big might be haunted. Even gaming will not be fun anymore. There is nothing I can do either. It is already settled anyway. Take care of yourself." "Brother, are you still looking for a job? We agreed before graduation that we would enter the real world together, but you abandoned me on the very first day. What happened to our father-son bond?" "I had no choice, all right. Besides, if you had not forgotten to submit your graduation documents, would I be in this situation? Besides, I am not much better off than you. I am living with my advisor. I have had no idea what I was doing all day. It has been painfully awkward. That is karma. Brother, heaven knew you were going to abandon me, so it prepared your punishment early." As we talked, Mikai suddenly came out of her bedroom. She seemed to be heading to the bathroom. I instinctively turned and glanced at her, but from the phone, Fang Yuan was still running his mouth. "Still living with that tigress. You had better pray for yourself. Brother, I hope you survive until we meet again." The moment he said that, Mikai and I both fell silent. She saw me sitting on the couch, talking on the phone, while Fang Yuan kept babbling from the other end. I wanted to mute the phone immediately, but instead, that idiot had no idea what had happened. Instead, he raised his voice even louder. "Brother, all I can say is that you are in a miserable spot. We are both wanderers far from home. Why should it matter that we had never met before? Who has ever escaped death? May your loyal heart live on in history." Mikai's formerly gentle expression instantly darkened like a thundercloud. She asked, "Who are you talking to?" "Fang Yuan from our class." "Give me the phone." She walked toward me. I swallowed hard and hurriedly whispered to the unhinged Fang Yuan, "Shut up. Stop talking nonsense. My advisor is here." But he did not hear me clearly at all and kept rambling. "Still, brother, do not be scared. Your dad is here. Even if that tigress comes after you, I will always have your back." Mikai quickly reached my side. Her face was dark as she held out her hand for the phone. I could only give a dry laugh. I said softly, "Here you go, Ms. Me." I obediently handed over my phone. After Mikai took it, she pressed her lips together, her face dark with irritation. She said into the phone, "Is this Fang Yuan?" The instant Fang Yuan heard Mikai's voice, his madness was instantly cured. He did not utter a single word. Mikai flicked a glance at me, then said to Fang Yuan, "Do you not want your diploma? Do you think that because you graduated today, you can do whatever you want now?" She spoke coldly. "Why have you gone me up?" I pressed my lips together and turned away. For some reason, I found the scene a little funny. "Sorry, I called the wrong number. Goodbye." Mikai immediately ended the WeChat call. I turned to Mikai, who still had a cold look on her face. She looked a little fierce right then. I stood and apologized. "I am sorry." Fang Yuan speaks without thinking. Please do not take it to heart. Normally, Mikai would have given me a serious scolding. I was ready to be lectured, but she looked at me and said nothing. She simply returned my phone. I will not stop you from making friends, but you need to be more careful. Do not let certain people lead you astray. I paused in surprise, then nodded. I understand. Get some rest early, Ms. Me. Do not stay up late. I am not feeling well tonight. Wash your face and go to sleep in a while. I will find you some toiletries tomorrow. I answered, okay. Thank you, Ms. Me. Then I watched Mikai enter the bathroom. She used the toilet, brushed her teeth, and washed her face, then returned to her bedroom. Meanwhile, I sat on the couch, staring blankly at the bathroom light. I wondered why my advisor had not reprimanded me. Given her usual temper, she would definitely have lectured me. Why was she so easygoing today? Could she really be feeling unwell? Neither of us spoke again that night. Mikai went to bed early and turned out the light. I kept working on my comic. I worked until after 1 in the morning, then turned off the light and lay down. I may be a guy, but my instincts are surprisingly accurate sometimes. Early the next morning, I found that Mikai really did not look well. She looked like she was in pain, yet she still insisted on getting up early to boil me some eggs for breakfast. Spatula, breakfast is ready. That morning, Mikai set 3 boiled eggs and a cup of hot milk in front of me. I had gone to sleep rather late last night, so I did not wake until she took the eggs off the stove. The moment I opened my eyes, I hurried to wash my face and hands. Once I had freshened up, I had barely sat on the couch when she brought over breakfast. I glanced at her pale face, puzzled. Are you not eating, Ms. Me? Mikai forced a smile. I am not hungry. You eat. I am going back to lie down for a while. With that, she turned and went into her bedroom. But at the moment she turned, I saw her unconsciously press a hand lightly against her lower abdomen. I had never been in a relationship, but I had drawn romance comics for years and read plenty of related information online. Based on what I had noticed yesterday and her reaction now, she probably had menstrual cramps, and they looked quite severe. After she went into her room and shut the door, I looked down at the milk and eggs before me. I could not bring myself to just let it go, so I drained the milk in one gulp, then got up and went to the kitchen. I wanted to see whether the refrigerator had ginger and brown sugar. Period cramps do not strike every month, and not every woman gets them, but if someone has experienced them, they will usually keep brown sugar or something similar at home. Sure enough, I opened the refrigerator and found a large bag of brown sugar in the door compartment. There was plenty of ginger beside it too. But aside from those 2 things, I suddenly noticed that the contents of Mikai's refrigerator were very limited. It looked packed full, but at a glance, apart from brown sugar, ginger, and milk, there were only tomatoes and eggs. I took out the brown sugar and ginger, closed the refrigerator, and got to work. Making a brown sugar drink was not difficult. Even without a girlfriend, you could learn it with an online search. Once it was ready, I took a sip myself first. It tasted good. The sweetness was just right. I found a cup in the living room, poured in the brown sugar drink, and carried it to Mikai's bedroom door. I raised my hand and knocked. At that moment, Mikai was lying in bed, holding her stomach beneath a small blanket, curled into a tight ball. She really did not feel like talking, but when she heard my voice, she still answered, "What is it? Do you need something?" I softened my voice as much as I could. "Nothing else. You just do not look well. So, I wondered if you were feeling sick. I just made you a brown sugar drink in the kitchen. Would you like some?" He made a brown sugar drink. When Mikai heard that, she could hardly believe it. This kid had never dated anyone, yet he knew how to make this. I gave an affirmative hum through the door. "It is freshly made. It should make you feel a little better." Mikai stared at the bedroom door, closed her eyes briefly, and slowly sat up. Her hands still covered her stomach. "Then come in. The door is unlocked," I answered, then gently pushed the door open. I had come in once yesterday to help pack her luggage, so I was not quite as self-conscious this time. But the moment I walked in, I saw that she looked even worse. Her lovely oval face was frighteningly pale, and her lips had no color either. I carried the cup over to her, just about to hand it to her, when she reached out, but a sudden wave of pain made her hand tremble. Her brow furrowed tighter, and she pulled back to clutch her stomach. Seeing how serious it was, I hurriedly asked, "Does it hurt badly? Do you have any painkillers at home?" Mikai thought to herself, this kid knows quite a lot, but she was in no state to talk, so she merely shook her head. "No, I used the last of them and never bought more. I have been too busy lately." I thought for a moment. "Then do you have a hot water bottle?" Mikai nodded. She gestured with her eyes toward the nightstand on the right, the bottom drawer. I nodded. "Have some of this brown sugar drink first. I will get the hot water bottle ready. So, you can warm your stomach." Mikai nodded again, but she was in so much pain now that she could not lift her hands for the moment. So I said, "If you really have no strength, I can feed it to you." Mikai looked at me with bloodshot eyes. She hesitated, but after a few seconds, she gave a slight nod. "I am sorry to trouble you. It is nothing. It is the least I can do." I sat beside the bed, carefully holding the cup in both hands. It was still a little hot. "Drink slowly, Ms. Me. I will blow on it first. I blew on it gently twice, then brought the cup to her lips. She watched these instinctive little gestures of mine, without saying a word. When the rim touched her lips, she sipped the brown sugar drink bit by bit. The sweetness slid down her throat, like a warm current spreading down from her throat. Whether it was truly working, or merely a placebo effect, she genuinely felt a little better. Still, she only took a few small sips. I asked, "Is it still too hot?" Mikai slowly nodded. "A little. Then I will cool it some more." It had just been made, so it was indeed rather hot. I carefully blew on it a few more times. Mikai watched me for a while. Who knew what was going through her mind? Soon, she looked away again, and lowered her head slightly. "All right. It should be fine now. Try again." I brought the cup to her lips again. This time, she first moistened her lips, then drank more than half the cup. She softly said, "Thank you." I smiled. "No problem. How do you feel now?" Mikai looked up at me. She was clearly a little better. "It does not hurt as much." I waved with a smile. "Do not be so formal. How about I heat some water so you can soak your feet? The brown sugar drink needs time to take effect too." Mikai was a little overwhelmed by the attention. No, do not trouble yourself. Go do your own work. I really do not have anything pressing to do," I said. "And this will only take a minute." After saying that, I sat beside her again. I glanced at the small amount left in the cup. "I will sit here with you. Finish this much first. Once you do, I will get you another cup." She could actually lift her hands by then, but I did not think much of it. As usual, I blew on it a few times, and brought the cup to her lips. The hand she had reached out with paused, then retreated beneath the blanket. She pinched its edge, then took small sip after small sip, finishing the brown sugar drink I held out to her. She looked up at me. I said, "Wait a moment, I will be right back." I took the cup and got up to leave. I pulled the door mostly shut behind me. In the kitchen, I poured another cup of brown sugar drink, then put the kettle on to boil. Meanwhile, Mikai sat on the edge of the bed holding her stomach. She unconsciously pressed her lips together. Her fox-like eyes stared blankly at the small blanket. Her emotions were in turmoil. What I did not know was that since becoming an adult, this was the first time anyone had cared for her like this. Or rather, it was the first time a man other than her father had cared for her this way, and with such meticulous attention, too. She could not deny it. A strange, indescribable warmth rose within her. Perhaps the brown sugar drink helped. A few minutes later, I came in carrying a basin of hot water. There were ginger slices and shreds floating in it. I set the basin down, gave her a few instructions, then stepped out. "Soak your feet for a while." Mikai gave a quiet hum. After I left, she turned and settled herself, then took her pale bare feet and cautiously lowered them into the water. The water was not painfully hot. I had deliberately made it just the right temperature. Not so hot that she would need to wait for it to cool. She could not help smiling when she put her feet in. The hot foot soak and brown sugar drink worked together, and Mikai's lower abdominal pain soon eased. In the past, she would have done all this herself. She would just have to endure the worst of it first, before she could get up and manage it. Today had been a complete accident. Her menstrual cramps had unexpectedly returned, and unexpectedly, someone was there to care for her. Mikai sat on the edge of the bed, slowly soaking her feet in the basin. When I returned a while later, carrying a second cup of brown sugar drink, a faint smile still lingered on her face. She looked nothing like the woman who had been in agony earlier. I placed the brown sugar drink by her bed. "It does not hurt much now, does it?" Mikai shook her head. "It is much better now. Call me if you feel unwell again. I will be in the living room." "Okay." I glanced at the smooth tops of her feet, then quickly turned and left the room. Back in the living room, I picked up the still warm egg on the table and slowly peeled it. I kept thinking about Mikai's expression earlier. She really had looked so weak. At school, she always seemed so commanding. Now, she was like an injured kitten, making me want to take even better care of her. After eating, I cleared the table, then sat back down on the sofa. I picked up the tablet and continued the drawing I had not finished last night, but I could not focus. Every so often, I glanced toward the bedroom, wondering whether her pain had returned. About an hour later, the bedroom door quietly opened. Mikai came out. Her complexion was much better, though she was still a little pale. At least she was no longer frowning. She had changed into loose loungewear. Her long hair fell loosely over her shoulders, making her seem less distant than usual. "Do you feel better, Ms. Me?" I hurriedly stood and asked. Mikai nodded. "Yes, much better. Thank you, Spatula. The brown sugar drink really helped." "Then sit and rest a little longer. I will get you some warm water." As I spoke, I headed for the kitchen. She watched me bustle about. Her gaze dimmed slightly, then brightened. She walked over and sat on the sofa, watching me move between the coffee table and sink. An indescribable emotion rose within her. This kid, he seems so ordinary normally. Why is he so thoughtful when it counts? I returned with warm water and handed it to her. I sat on the little stool across from her. Neither of us spoke for a while. Only the air conditioner's low hum filled the living room. After a while, Mikai spoke. Spatula, that drawing you did yesterday. I looked at it carefully. It is very good, especially the details. I paused, then realized she meant the one of the sports field. Thank you for the compliment, Ms. Me. It was only a casual sketch. Mikai sipped her water, watching the ripples against the cup. She said softly, "It is not just that you draw well. More importantly, you are very observant. You even included the little mole on my collarbone." Hearing that, I went completely rigid. My head buzzed, and my mind went blank. I am done for. I have been exposed. Mikai raised her eyes to me, her gaze calm. "Do you often pay attention to me?" My face instantly burned. I stammered, unsure how to answer. "Ms. Me, seeing me like this." Mikai gave a soft laugh instead. "Do not be nervous. I am not blaming you. I just want to understand." She paused, then asked, "You drew Eternal Graduation Season 2, right?" I was completely stunned. I stared at her blankly. My lips moved, but no sound came out. Mikai took her phone from beneath the coffee table, opened the reader group chat, and held it before me. "What you said in the group yesterday. I saw it all. Your reason for borrowing the tablet, and the style of your drawings. It all matches." I took the phone and looked at the messages I had sent. My whole world seemed to spin. "So you suspected it all along, Ms. Me?" Mikai nodded. "From the moment you knocked to borrow my tablet, I had already suspected as much. I just was not entirely sure then. Not until I saw your drawing. Was I completely certain?" I lowered my head, clenching my hands on my knees. "I am sorry, Ms. Me. I should not have used you as my model, or hidden it from you." Mikai was silent for a moment, then asked softly, "Those scenes in the comic, were they all imaginary? Or was there another reason?" I looked up and met her serious eyes. My heart pounded. "Ms. Me, I like you." The instant I said it, the living room fell deathly still. Mikai's expression froze slightly, then became complicated. She opened her mouth, but did not know where to begin. Seeing her reaction, my heart sank. I hurriedly added, "I know this sounds presumptuous. You are my counselor, and I am your student. It could never work between us. So I only hid these feelings in my comic. I never meant to disturb you." As Mikai listened, her gaze slowly softened. She set down her cup and sighed softly. "Spatula, do you know how many years apart we are?" 5 years. I answered in a low voice. "Strictly speaking, you are 5 years and 3 months older." Mikai blinked, then laughed. "You even remembered that?" I nodded. "Every little thing about you. I remember clearly. The day I first met you, what you wore, what you said, even the bottled water brand you usually drink. I have not forgotten any of it." Mikai looked at the earnest young man before her. Something deep inside her was gently touched. She thought back over the past 4 years. Spatula had always been quiet in class, but diligent in all he did. When their paths occasionally crossed, he had always been polite and proper. Behind it all was such a tender, guarded affection for her. "That comic you draw," Mikai began slowly. "I have been following it for a long time. I like it very much. The feelings in it are sincere and beautiful." I looked up in surprise. "You are not angry?" Mikai shook her head. "At first, I was surprised, but thinking it over, it also shows that you think highly of me. But, Spatula, reality is different from comics. Love on paper can be written perfectly, but in real life, there is much we must consider. The age difference, how our roles would change, what others would think. And are you sure this is not a passing impulse?" "I am sure." The words came straight out. "Since my first year, you have always been in my heart. Over 4 years, my feelings have not faded. They have only become clearer. I know it sounds childish, but I really like you." Mikai saw the genuine light in my eyes, and warmth rose in her chest. It had been a long time since anyone had liked her with such pure affection. No one had ever quietly watched her for as long as Spatula had, remembering every detail about her, then turning those feelings into such a warm comic. Mikai said quietly, "I need some time to think. Our situation is unusual right now. We are stuck here together, and that can easily make us misread our feelings. Besides, you have only just graduated. You still have a long road ahead. I do not want momentary feelings to lead you to a decision you will regret." I nodded to show I understood. "I am not asking for your answer now. I only hope you will not hate me, or think I am strange." Mikai smiled. "How could I hate you? You are one of the most talented students I have taught, and being loved so sincerely is a kind of happiness." Hearing that, my nose stung with emotion. Mikai stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the empty courtyard, then suddenly said, "Do not call me counselor anymore. I am not your teacher anymore. You have graduated too. We are equals now. Then what should I call you?" Mikai turned around, smiling. "Call me by my name, Mikai. Or Kai Kai. That is what my friends call me." I tried saying it. Kai Kai. My voice was barely audible, but Mikai's smile only brightened. "Yes, That sounds nice. Over the next few days, the way we were around each other quietly changed. We were still awkward sometimes, but no longer as reserved as before. Mikai told me many things I had never known. For instance, that outdoor trip. She really had been upset because her younger sister was ill. She had sat alone beneath a tree, lost in thought. What she did not know was, I had been watching her from nearby. I wanted to go comfort her, but fear stopped me. Later, I turned that moment into a scene in my comic. So some scenes in the comic were rooted in reality. No wonder they always felt so real. I rubbed the back of my head, embarrassed. Most of it is still imagined. I only based her character on you. Mikai suddenly asked, what about the comic's ending? Have you figured it out? I froze. Not yet. To be honest, I do not know how to end it either. Mikai nodded thoughtfully. She did not press further. The lockdown passed faster than expected. In the blink of an eye, half a month had gone by. Mikai and I gradually settled into the rhythm of living together. Her cramps did not return, but before her period, I still prepared brown sugar and a hot water bottle. Mikai also began trying new recipes, though they often went wrong. We laughed and finished every bite. One evening, we sat on the balcony, watching the stars. Mikai suddenly said, Spatula, my birthday is next week. I blinked. So soon? Why did you not tell me earlier? I have not prepared a gift. Mikai smiled. In our current situation, what gift could you possibly get? Having you spend it with me is already the best gift. That will not do. I have to give you something. I answered firmly. Over the next few days, I secretly drew a series of short comics on my tablet. It was a bonus story for eternal graduation season, about the lead's daily life after getting together. It was warm and sweet. On Mikai's birthday, I sent her the comic series. As Mikai read, her eyes slowly reddened. Spatula. This is the most thoughtful birthday gift I have ever received. Seeing how touched she was, my heart brimmed with happiness. That night, we ordered a small cake. We held a simple celebration in the living room. As she blew out the candles, Mikai closed her eyes and made a wish. Then she looked at me, but swallowed the words on the tip of her tongue. Kai, what did you wish for? I asked. Mikai shook her head. If I tell you, it will not come true. But her gaze was impossibly soft. After her birthday, we grew a little closer. Sometimes I would brush against her hand, and she would not pull away at once. Sometimes a bad joke would leave us laughing on the couch, close enough to hear each other breathe. A growing romantic tension filled our little home. I knew Kai was slowly accepting me too. We were both just waiting for the right moment. Until one night, when a fierce thunderstorm broke. Mikai was afraid of thunder. I discovered that by accident. The thunder was especially loud that night. I was in the living room, rushing to finish a draft, when I suddenly heard a cry from the bedroom. I rushed over. Mikai was curled up beneath the covers, trembling all over. Kai, are you alright? I sat beside her bed and asked softly. Mikai peeked out from under the covers. Her face was pale. I am scared of thunder. I have been afraid of it since I was little. Seeing her so vulnerable, my heart clenched. Without thinking, I reached out and took her hand. Do not be afraid. I am here. Mikai's hand was cold, but the moment I held it, she visibly relaxed. Thunder crashed again. Mikai suddenly threw herself into my arms and clung to me tightly. My body stiffened at first, then relaxed. I gently patted her back. It is all right. It is only thunder. She trembled slightly in my arms. After a while, the thunder moved farther away. Only then did she realize how intimate our position was. She hurriedly let me go, her face burning red. I am sorry. I was just scared. It is all right, I said softly. If you are scared, I will sit with you for a while. Mikai looked at me, her eyes flickering. At last, she whispered, come up here. The bed is warmer. I hesitated. Then I took off my shoes and got into bed. Lying down beside her, we kept a respectful distance, neither of us crossing the line. In the darkness, only our breathing remained. After a long time, Mikai suddenly spoke. Spatula, do you remember my birthday wish? I remembered, but I did not ask. She gently turned to face me. Though I could not see her expression, I could feel her sincerity. My wish was that we could give each other a chance. My heart lurched. Kai, do you mean? Mikai quietly took my hand. Her voice was soft but certain. I have thought a lot these past 2 weeks about everything we may face in the future. But in the end, I realized none of that matters so much. What matters is that every day I spend with you makes me happy. You are thoughtful, gentle, and talented. Most importantly, your feelings for me are true, and I have slowly fallen for you too. I was too overwhelmed to speak. I could only squeeze her hand tightly. Kai, do you really want to be with me? Mikai nodded. Yes, I do. But, she added, we need to take it slowly. Let us try dating first. If we find we are not right for each other later, we should part on good terms. Okay, of course, I answered at once. I will cherish this chance, and I will do my best to prove that I truly love you. Mikai smiled, then softly kissed my cheek. That night, we fell asleep in each other's arms. Though we did not cross any lines, our hearts had never been closer. From that day on, we were officially together, though the lockdown continued, and we could not go out on dates. We made every day feel like a date. I told her what I earned from my comics, and discussed our future plans with her. Kai also told me about her savings, and her career plans. Like any ordinary couple, we shared our lives and dreams. A month later, the neighborhood lockdown finally ended. The moment I walked out of that building, I felt strangely reluctant to leave. That month had been the most beautiful time of my life so far. Mikai stood at my side, and gently took my hand. Spatula, what are you planning to do next? I looked at her, and said seriously, I want to find a stable job first. Get settled, then keep drawing comics. When this series ends and I get paid, I will buy an apartment and put it in your name. Mikai stared at me in surprise. You cannot do that. That is your money. It is our money. I corrected her. Kai, I have made up my mind. For the rest of my life, you are the one I choose. So, what is mine is yours. Mikai's eyes welled with tears. We looked at each other and smiled. Hand in hand, we walked out of the neighborhood. After taking Mikai home, I returned to the rented apartment I shared with Fang Yuan. The moment Fang Yuan saw me, he rushed over. Spatula, you finally made it back. How was your month? The tigress did not eat you alive, did she? Laughing, I pushed him away. Cut it out. We are doing great. Fang Yuan froze. I nodded. Yeah, Counselor Mikai and I are together. Fang Yuan was dumbstruck. After a long moment, he finally gave me a thumbs up. Damn, brother. You are incredible. You even won over your counselor. I smiled. My heart was full of sweetness. Over the following months, I worked myself to the bone on eternal graduation season. Finally came to an end. The day the final chapter was released, the reader group went wild. Everyone was sad to see it end, but also wished the comics lovers well. Mikai looked at the ending, overcome with emotion. Spatula, thank you for making our story so beautiful. I put an arm around her shoulders. I am the one who should thank you. Thank you for coming into my life and making the love on those pages real. After it ended, the comic was published in print. Its sales were unexpectedly strong. I used my royalties for the down payment. On moving day, Mikai's parents came over. At first, they were concerned about our age difference, but when they saw how well I cared for Mikai, they gradually put their worries to rest. Spatula, Mikai's mother said, holding my hand, I am entrusting Kai to you. You must treat her well. I replied solemnly, ma'am, I will. I will make Kai happy. A year later, Mikai and I got married. The wedding was simple. We invited only family and close friends. Fang Yuan was my best man. He sobbed his eyes out on stage, saying I have finally found my happy ending. As we exchanged rings, Mikai looked at me, tears glimmering in her eyes. Spatula, thank you for coming into my life and showing me that love can be this beautiful. I kissed the back of her hand. Kai, I should be thanking you. Thank you for choosing to love the boy who once only dared to admire you from afar. After we married, we lived an ordinary, happy life. One night, Mikai suddenly asked me, Spatula, do you remember our first day stuck together? Of course I do. I held her and smiled. I was terrified that day. I was so afraid you would discover my secret. Mikai smiled too. Actually, I figured it out long ago. I just pretended not to know. I stared at her in surprise. Really? Mikai nodded. The first time you came to my home, the way you looked at me was different. Then I saw that drawing you made, and what you said in the reader group. That was when I was almost certain. Then why did you not call me out? I wanted to see how long you could keep it hidden. Mikai flashed me a mischievous smile, and I wanted to see whether you would tell me yourself. I did not know whether to laugh or cry. So, you had been teasing me all along. Mikai nestled into my arms and said softly, but I am so glad you forgot to submit your graduation paperwork that day. I am glad the neighborhood happened to go into lockdown, and even happier that I did not reject your feelings. Otherwise, we might have just passed each other by. I held her tighter. Yes, everything worked.